Hello, everyone. My name is Shuka, and I'm a rising senior at UC Berkeley studying psychology and biology. And today I will be presenting to you my lesson on mental health in the digital age. So, firstly, I want everyone to pause the video and answer honestly, how many hours do you spend looking at your screen every day? Additionally, I want you to reflect on what you do for your screen time and how it affects your lifestyle and mental health. Some of you may have realized an increase in screen time since the start of COVID-19 quarantining, and we actually have the statistics for that too. So yeah, feel free to pause the video and just think about it. Okay, now I'll be moving on to the COVID-19 screen statistics. So here we have a graph, is done by the CDC, and after COVID-19 struck, you see an overall increase of screen time from the general population and a total of 13 hours or a little over 13 hours of screen time daily, which is a lot. So here before COVID-19 quarantine started, it was around 10 hours, which is still a lot, but then it spiked to an additional 3.5 hours. So in your head, you can also compare your own screen time to the average and see if it's around the same, less or more. And now, because screen time is becoming such a large proportion of our waking lives, we must start to wonder, how does this screen time actually affect your mental health and physical health? And we can investigate this by starting off with scientific and technical discoveries regarding circadian rhythm and blue light. So these two concepts we're going to be talking about in order to better understand how the digital age affects our mental health. So first off, we have to have a working definition of what is blue light. So blue light is a color in the visible light spectrum that can be seen by human eyes. So you see over here in this picture, these are like a bunch of wavelengths, and when it's between this and this wavelength, it's called visible light because it's light or wavelengths that we can see with the human eye. And over on this side, we have blue light specifically. And blue light is a short wavelength, which means it is higher in energy. So over here, you have longer wavelengths, and over here, I have shorter wavelengths with higher energy. And as you can see here, you have actually negative impacts of blue light if you have too much of it. For example, you can have HEV-induced retina damage, so eye damage and cell death. And then you can also see glare caused by LCD displays, mobile displays, and LED lights. So that's mainly from screen time. And so this is very on the cusp of potential eye damage. And over here, with screen time, you can see that there's melatonin suppression, increased alertness, and increased heart rate. So melatonin is a hormone that is specific to the sleep cycle, which is related to circadian rhythm and how well you're able to sleep at night. And so blue light on its own is actually potentially not harmful because the sun naturally emits blue light when we are outside. However, the effects of excessive blue light from the use of technology has not been closely studied, so it's inconclusive. However, we do know that blue light can be detrimental or bad to one's health in terms of circadian rhythm, as explained before with melatonin being affected by screen time or blue light coming from screen time. And so now we have to define what is circadian rhythm. So the definition formally is that it is a 24-hour internal clock that is running in the background of your brain, which cycles between sleepiness and alertness at regular intervals. And evidence suggests that it also helps regulate hunger levels, alertness for cognition, so just the way you think, and also reproductive health. And so you have a diagram here that kind of shows, I guess, base levels of what happens physiologically or like physically in your body due to circadian rhythm. So at certain parts of the day, you have melatonin secretion. So at nighttime, you want to go to sleep. So melatonin is supposed to naturally secrete. And then you also have, for example, like blood pressure and body temperature changes. And so this would be the average for most humans in terms of circadian rhythm. And so we can tell that circadian rhythm is affected by blue light. So blue light from screens at night can negatively affect one's circadian rhythm just because of the melatonin secretion being inhibited or stopped. So potential ways to combat circadian rhythm disruption. It's been proven that turning down screen brightness during the night is really helpful. Using dark mode or night mode during the night, prevents or it at least lessens the amount of blue light that hits your eyes. And then also using blue light glasses, which reflect blue light away from you so it doesn't reach your eyes. And so, what does circadian rhythm disruption actually go over? Like, what does it do? And so, studies suggest that circadian rhythm disruption can actually lead to cognitive decline, such as the way you think. It can create reproductive health issues and also just physical fatigue. If you think of jet lag, so when you're on an airplane moving from one place to another, jet lag is a common symptom and it's actually caused by circadian rhythm disruption. It's because you don't necessarily have the right amount of light at the right uh, time of the day, and that can cause you to feel fatigue, which is one symptom of circadian rhythm disruption. And personally, my research at UC Berkeley is actually studying the effects of circadian rhythm disruption with female reproductive health. So if anyone has any questions on that, feel free to reach out to me as well. So now we want to investigate how social media impacts everyone's mental health. So before we begin, I want to just make it clear how important this is. So I want to just pose a question to everyone. So how many of you use social media on a daily basis? How many of you use multiple social media platforms on a daily basis? How many hours do you spend on it? So when you answer these questions, I feel that a lot of people who are watching this are going to be like, wow, I use social media a fair amount. And so every one of us who uses social media becomes a stakeholder in how it impacts our mental health. So we have to try our best to investigate how social media affects our mental health and also those around us. So how does social media affect our mental health? So some studies found no correlation between social media usage and mental health, while other studies found a direct correlation between time spent on social media and decreased mental health well-being. So right now it's inconclusive. We can't actually find like a obvious pattern when looking through the details. Or sorry, we can't find an obvious pattern unless we look through the details. So there are no obvious causal links between social media usage and mental health across different studies. But when you look at each study individually, there seems to be a correlation between how you use social media and your mental health. Additionally, how you use social media can also show signs of mental health. So findings indicated that adolescents who feel lonely in peer relationships are more likely to use Facebook to feel more connected to others and to compensate for a lack of social skills. Interestingly enough, though, when the study participants did this, they experienced an increase in peer loneliness. And the experimenters hypothesized that it's possible that the adolescents who spend more time interacting online are spending less time building deeper offline relationships. So I think the key takeaway from this study regarding social isolation is that do not let social media take away from real life relationships. Or if you do have an online relationship, you should try to cultivate deeper relationships. So bottom line, try to find deeper, more meaningful relationships, whether it's online or offline, so you don't feel socially isolated due to social media. Next, this one is a more common mental health issue. It's the comparison issue. So adolescents who compare themselves to one another may have a worse state of mental health well-being and develop depressive symptoms. And a link has been noted between adolescents' heavy use of Facebook and other social media with the envy of others. So one study, which had 736 college students, found that envy can lead to feelings of depression. And so a study found that using Facebook to follow what others are posting led to feelings of resentment, which contributed to depression. The term Facebook depression has been used to describe depression that develops from extreme overuse of social media. However, here's the reality check. No one is perfect. These crafted photos on social media, although pleasing to the eye, are altered versions of reality that can become toxins to the human mind to create envy. It becomes a trap for all of us to compare ourselves to something that was crafted to seem perfect. So when you look at the photo on the slide over here, just some simple photo editing can get rid of acne on one's face. And we all know that things like Instagram filters can do even more than that to enhance photos that are posted on social media. One study suggests that the key to not letting social media negatively impact your mental health is to not compare yourself to others. years, and instead compare yourself to who you were yesterday. That way, you're focusing on improving yourself and not comparing yourself with other people who may be in different situations, different walks of life, different backgrounds. So you're your own person, you're unique and you want to compare yourself to who you were yesterday so you can keep improving. And so examples of crafted perfection would look like this. So social media is known to be filled with social media influencers and advertising, which craft perfect pictures to promote brand names and get you to spend money for profit. And so some examples of this would be Kylie Jenner and her beauty products. So over here, and Kim Kardashian and her health products, as shown on the slide over here. And although they genuinely might be good products, the advertisement can be a trap for us to compare ourselves to the image and want to buy the image, or sorry, want to buy the product to get closer to their crafted versions of perfection. So try not to fall into that trap. Just realize that these are all just crafted images and they don't really necessarily exist in reality. And so here are some tips to avoid comparison. So here's one primary tip that psychiatrists suggest. Unfollow everything in your social media that's fake. Unfollow all those people with luxury cars, big homes, fabulous vacations all over the world, and irresistibly fashionable clothes, and any other expensive status symbol. Like for example, if traveling the world is really your passion, find someone to follow that does that for real. So if for example, maybe they can go on cheaper vacations and more realistic budgets. If fashion is truly an interest of yours, find someone who talks about sustainable fashion or fashion on a budget, not fashion just for the purpose of inspiring envy. And if you like cars, follow on Instagram all about cars, not just pictures of cars designed to make you feel cool. And lastly, unfollow from accounts that advertise products too much, because then you might be trapped by the crafted version of perfection that they post. So next we have the overuse of social media and mental health. So one study suggested that overuse of social media has links to more negative emotions on a daily basis. It suggested that using social media during social activities can make you feel lonelier and less connected to people around you. And the authors think that it could be because online platform is taking away time for you to make deeper connections with the people around you. So this is actually similar to a previous slide where it was talking about social isolation. You just don't want social media or anything online or virtual to take away from your experiences in real life. So if you're hanging out with friends or like at a party with loved ones, then you want to make sure to really be present and not really be on social media during that time. And also, on the other hand, people who do not look at screens while spending time with loved ones have increased feelings of bonding and increased levels of oxytocin. And oxytocin is commonly known to be the pair bonding hormone, which is uh, which is more along the lines of building deeper relationships with people in a hormonal way. And the next thing is to watch for vague booking. So I said before that how you use social media can actually show signs of your mental health. And so one of these ways, or one of the signs is vague booking. So vague booking is just a term that combines the words vague and Facebooking. And its definition is the practice of making a post on social media, primarily Facebook, that is intentionally vague but highly personal and emotional. And so you have an example over here where someone posted, don't know what to do anymore. So this is really vague, but it's also kind of on an emotional and personal level. And so a way to intervene is to reach out to the person who's vague booking and offer steadfast support and make sure they see a therapist. Also, there's a resource down here. It's NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Health Illness. It's a good resource for you to understand how you can support people who may be going through depressive episodes. Next, we have social media and gaming addiction. So addiction is one mental health issue that may arise from social media usage and online gaming. So psychologists define that if one finds social media browsing and online gaming activities are taking away time from their obligations or time with friends and family, that this may be a serious addiction issue and it can be classified as a disorder. And so next is the social dilemma. So this was actually a film on Netflix. So if anyone is able to watch it, I highly encourage it because it gives you an insider's perspective on how social media platform creators use human psychology to promote addictive behaviors to social media, which is not good. And the idea it encapsulates is that big social media companies manipulate users by using certain algorithms that encourage addiction to their platforms because they want people to use their platform. They want people to be using it a lot to gain money from ad revenue. And so these algorithms work by using data that you relinquish to the social media companies to make you more addicted to using the platform. And currently, the government is trying to implement policies to stop this immediately because it is indeed deemed unethical. And we must stop this practice to prevent people from becoming mentally addicted to social media and the internet overall in an unhealthy manner. And so the title is The Social Dilemma, and it should look like this on Facebook. So next we have addiction interventions. And so there's two primary ways of dealing with internet addiction. And it is to one, seek medical professional, whether that be a counselor or a psychiatrist, depending on the level of addiction. And then two, behavior modification practices. There are communities to combat gaming addiction, such as Healthy Gamer GG and Esports Healthcare. For those who are interested, Healthy Gamer actually has a popular Twitch channel that streams weekly and provides educational content on the application of psychology for a wide variety of mental health issues. And it's actually quite entertaining too. So it's not just dry, it's also very, it's also and not only educational, but also flashy and entertaining. And there are also communities to combat social media addiction, which include Live Free Lifestyle and Good Therapy, both of which can be searched up online. So yeah, all these images over here are the brand, or not the brand, but like the resources you could use if you know anyone who has addiction issues with online gaming or with social media. So here are some tips to avoid internet addiction. So first, you can actually put your mobile device in your backpack and not in your pocket, so it's actually just harder to reach. So when you are like in a social hangout of sorts, you don't just pull it out because it's a habit or anything. And so you can also make your phone monochrome and not in color. You can check the settings and actually set it to monochrome, and evidently studies show that you'll be less addicted to your phone. The third thing is finding something better to do than scrolling through social media. So of course, we all know that it can be entertaining to scroll through social media, look at memes, look at posts of other people. But if you find something better to do, like maybe you like exercise, or maybe you like gardening, or maybe petting your cat or spending time with family. If you find something better to do, then you can actually just do that instead, and it'll be healthier for your lifestyle instead of overdosing on the social media. And then also you can just use social media for messaging only, because social media at the start was really supposed to just connect people together. And so if you keep like that as a medium to just connect with people and nothing else, then that could be pretty healthy. And lastly, you can also just practice mindfulness. So just think to yourself, how much time do you actually do spend on social media or on the internet, and how much you would ideally want to. And try to think of ways for you to actually improve your own lifestyle, and think of things that you can do or you can think of to combat certain things. And so next I want to talk about the rise of cyberbullying. So cyberbullying is another issue that is pervasive and affects mental health of adolescents around the world. And social media can negatively impact one's health if they are a victim of cyberbullying. So here are some cyberbullying statistics. So it says 16% of students in the US report being cyberbullied. So that's like a fair amount of people. So you might actually know people who do report, who would consider themselves being cyberbullied. It says that 1 in 5 girls are cyberbullied, 1 in 10 boys are cyberbullied, and then 92% of teens online daily. So that is a lot, and this was provided by the American SPCC organization. And so this is a pervasive issue. And so here are some interventions for cyberbullying. So you have a little list here. So first you want to notice, and so you want to recognize if there has been a change in mood or behavior and explore what the cause might be. So try to determine if these changes happen around the child's use of their digital devices. And then so you can talk too. So you can ask questions to learn what's happening, how it started, and who's involved. And then you can also document. So keep a record of what is happening and where. Take screenshots of harmful posts or content if possible. Most laws and police note that bullying is a repeated behavior, so records help to document it. And then also you can report. So most social media platforms and schools have clear policies and reporting processes. So if a classmate or a friend is being cyberbullied, you can report it to the school, and you can also contact the app or social media platform to report offensive content and have it be removed. So if a child or if anyone has received physical threats, or if a potential crime or illegal behavior is occurring, report it to the police. And then you can also find support and give support. So peers, mentors, and trusted adults are sometimes intervene publicly to positively influence the situation where negative content can be posted. And so public intervention can include posting positive comments about the person targeted and trying to shift the conversation in a more positive light. And it can also help to reach out to the person who's getting bullied and express your concern. So it kind of supports them in an emotional fashion. And if possible, you can also try to determine if more professional support is needed for those involved. So possibly speaking with a guidance counselor or mental health professional. And while we're on this topic, so there's something that has emerged recently, which is cancel culture, and it's considered social canceling. So to define canceling, we will say it is an individual's volitional act of publicity, rejecting, and actively pursuing harm against a perceived transgressor. So although it is only a recent trend, psychology-based research has found that it can lead to people bottling up their emotions, which negatively impacts their health. So due to cancel culture, some people aren't able to freely express themselves because in fear of being canceled. And so it can lead to bottling up of emotions and also directly lead to excessive or unjust punishment of an individual without proper assessment of facts. Like things can be taken out of context, and so people can be punished unjustly, and that's unfair. And it's because there's a prevention of open and honest dialogue, because people are just getting canceled potentially without, I guess, the proper investigation into it. And although it is often paired with social justice initiatives, canceling can be an action taken by anyone of any background and can be used in a toxic way for mental health. So don't get it mistaken by it always being justified. Sometimes it isn't, and sometimes it is a bad thing for people's mental health. So I know that I've been talking about a lot of bad things about mental health and the digital age, but there have been benefits of the digital age to mental health as well. So I want to go over them. For these last slides, you mainly want to say, or you mainly want to think of the positives. So first off, there's online support groups. So people with serious mental health illness report that there is greater social connectedness from interacting with peers online, and then increased feelings of group belonging by sharing personal stories and strategies for coping with day-to-day challenges of living with mental illness. So you have actually a lot of stories on people of Reddit or YouTube or Facebook forming online communities to combat mental health issues and support each other through tough times. And it's actually really great that this is happening. And you can actually search stories of this online. And you can even find yourself some supportive subreddits. So online communities have formed to actually help people cope with mental health. And so this is one huge benefit of the digital age. People are more connected and people are more able to cooperate with each other to get through tough times. And so next, you have telehealth being advertised on social media. So there are virtual appointments for therapy or over the phone. And the three things that it can do is that it's more convenient to just do it over the phone or do it online because you don't have to actually move. It's often less expensive too. And then it's actually at the same level of professionalism. So as long as they have proper credentials, educational degree, and experience, you'll actually have generally the same experience as you would if you were to go in person. And so this actually also increases access for people because of social determinants of health. Social determinants of health is where you might not be able to get proper medical care because of where you live, or your background, or anything related to socio and cultural or socioeconomic status. But because it's online, because it's easy access, and because it's also less expensive, it provides more access for people to cope and better their mental health. And so that is also definitely a good thing that the digital age has provided us with. And then we also have awareness for mental health issues. So it has significantly increased. Studies have even shown that it has increased by at least 2 times because in the digital age, things spread really fast. And there are forums where, there are forums which welcomes people of different mental illnesses or people who are going through acute depression. So these are like the subreddits again. And many people share stories, right? On YouTube, Reddit, Twitch, Facebook, and other online platforms. So you see awareness everywhere. And there's also online events that bring more awareness to mental health issues. So there's like the Mental Health Awareness Month, which is in May. And there's also a lot of online events that promote mental health well-being. And then kind of tying this with something else, it would be fundraising for mental health. So it has also significantly increased. There have been literally fundraisers for mental health online. And so there's online events, there's charity streams, there's community discussions, there's GoFundMe, which help for individual cases. And me personally, I've also been part of this. So I'm a part of an organization called Rotaract, and we actually did a 24-hour charity stream on Twitch and a 4-hour mental health awareness stream on Twitch as well. And we raised around $2,500 for a nearby Children's Miracle Hospital. And we also raised awareness for mental health as well. And so this can happen anywhere. This can happen at your school. This can happen within an organization. And it's really easy for people to do and just spread the word about mental health. So it has been a lot less not destigmatized and more talked about, which is really good. And with that, it's the conclusion of my presentation. Thank you so much. If any of you have any questions about how social media or how blue light can affect your physical or mental health in the digital age, please feel free to contact me. I'd love to talk about it. And yeah.